Welcome to Backstage Pass, your all-access pass to everything Wake Up. And we have with us today this wonderful lady, Jackie Woodside, and we're going to be continuing on with the conversation with Jackie on how to take care of chaos from our lives. Welcome, Jackie. It's so great to be talking to you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun.
I have learned so much from you already. It's amazing.
Thank you.
It's just amazing. I wanted to, one of the things we missed, and I found that so interesting when we were talking to you, was your story, your own personal story on how you got started in taking care of chaos in your life. So tell us about that.
Yeah. Everything is energy, right? So I started learning and paying attention about this. Gosh, it was probably 15, 20 years ago when I had a chronic injury, bursitis, tendonitis in my right arm from racquetball and sign language and computers and all of the things. So I had tried different things. Well, I finally went to an acupuncturist to see about treating this issue. So I went and saw this lovely man, he's a little man, and he did this assessment on me, and he said, I can help your injury, but that's not really the issue. Get dressed and come into my office. I was like, all right, not quite sure what that means, but got myself ready, went in and met with him, and he's sitting across the table from me, and he says, you're very type A, driven, always on the go kind of person, aren't you? And I just looked, I felt kind of called out and embarrassed. I was like, well, yeah. He says, well, the issue for you isn't your bursitis. It's that your chi is so low. Your life force energy is draining. It's drastically low for someone your age. And if you don't address that, you're not going to live very long. Can you imagine?
Wow.
So that got my attention.
Of course.
That totally got my attention. And it was that turning point for me that really had me look at how I was living my life. And that whole notion of starting to manage my energy rather than manage my time, manage my goals, manage my productivity, but really thinking about managing my energy really was the first place that I started looking at that. And from there, I've written this book and I've been teaching this program on calming the chaos in your life through managing your energy rather than your time for the last 10 years.
Wow, that is just amazing.
It was a very powerful experience, yeah.
I can imagine that. And the personality you're describing, the type A personality, whether we like it or not, a lot of us are forced into even being that kind of personality. And it really is very draining and it's very exhausting.
Yeah.
And it creates a lot of stress, which is, as we know, is one of the biggest killers.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what are some of the tools you find very helpful, because I know your book is amazing, and if our viewers want to learn more about it, they can certainly read the book.
Sure.
But for people like me that don't have the time, that have so much going on,
yeah, people
where do
say
we
that.
begin?
Oh, I need this book. I wish I had time to read it.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And I know your book
Yeah.
actually has a great feature. The last chapter actually has Cliff Notes.
Yes, right. The
Which is
Cliff
for
Notes
people like
version.
me.
Yes, just go to the last chapter if you can't read the whole book. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the fundamental premises of the book. Everyone says, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. Well, you're sitting here, you've got a pulse, you're still breathing. So if you got up this morning, God willing, you've got 24/7 ahead of you. We've all got time. So it's this felt sense that we don't have time that is driving us. And another thing you said, we're forced into this type A personality. It's really clear that the way that we've been working isn't working.
Yep.
We can't keep like this driven, frenetic pace. And I think people are starting to wake up to that, which makes this book so timely right now. How do you calm the chaos? So the first thing you've got to do is really recognize you do have a choice. You are not being driven into something. You are mostly unconsciously making day to day to day, hour by hour choices that maintain this chaos in your life. So that's one of the things that people have to look at. Where am I making choices unconsciously that are feeding this frenzy and feeding this chaos? I say to calm the chaos in your life, you've got to do two things. You have to manage your mindset, how you think about time, how you think about yourself, how you think about your values, your priorities, your life. So there's your mindset that has to be addressed. And then, of course, you have to manage your skill set. which is learning the tools and techniques that I teach about managing yourself rather than managing time.
Wow, that is great. Now, one of the things that I really loved when I was reading your book was about how you can simply create more space in your life by creating space in your surroundings.
Yeah.
Taking care of clutter, for example,
Yeah.
which so many of us are guilty of.
I know. It's, this has become a cultural iconic problem when there are companies, franchises now. What is it, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or all of these Clear Your Clutter franchises that will go in your home and remove all of your clutter. So, yeah, I say in the book that, again, it's about managing energy, not managing time, the energy of your thoughts, the energy of your physical surroundings. There is an energy to everything. There's an energy to your thoughts, your physicality, and the things around us carry an energy. So when your physical environment is just, you're drowning in this sea of mail and magazines and clutter and the thing that my great-grandma Sue gave me that I can't part with, whatever it is. When you start feeling like you're drowning in your clutter, basically what you're doing is you're creating a dense, energetic space. There, and you can even feel it, right? When you go into someone's house that maybe they're a hoarder or they've got that clutter problem, you feel constricted. In your own place when it's disorganized, you feel that sense of chaos. So one of the things that I have people get to work on is creating a sense of strength in their environment by creating an environment that is beautiful, aesthetic, and useful. So I have you go through your physical environment and really look at everything there and say, does it have a place? Does it have use? And does it have some emotional nurturance for my life?
That's great.
If the answer to those questions is no, then it goes. And of course, I don't like things going in landfills, right? So there's wonderful places that you can donate your things. There's so much need in the world. Don't just throw it out, but really think strategically, how can I get rid of my things in a way that's going to help and serve other people?
Beautiful.
When you do that, again, you're clearing your space, which elevates your energy. You're doing it with intention that helps other people. That also really raises the energy. Let me tell you a brief story about this. I worked with a family. They had so much clutter. They literally filled 2 dumpsters.
Wow.
And they had two different garage sales where they earned $1,500 by getting rid of stuff and filled 2 dumpsters, got rid of a ton of stuff. And I told them before they started, I want you to set an intention, because when you move energy, things shift. So I had them set an intention of what they wanted to do, to bring into their life. What are they making room for in this spaciousness? And they were having financial challenges. So they did all the work, set this intention that they would bring some greater finance into their life. True story, this is one of those sounds too good to be true kind of stories. They did their whole process.
Those are always the best ones.
I know, right? And it really
Of
is true. They did the work. I worked with them probably around 4 or 5 months in the process. The end of the process, with the gal's first cousin, who was a mildly mentally retarded man that they had cared for, he passed away unexpectedly, died of a heart attack, was in his 60s. He had been a custodian at a local school his whole life, and they were his caretaker. He lived alone, but they helped him out. So they went into his apartment to help clean up and take care of his affairs after he passed. And they went in the closet and saw this big garbage bag. They pulled the garbage bag out, and it was very light. And they opened it up, and there were $50,000 of cash in the bag.
Wow.
1s, 5s, 10s. He didn't know what to do with it. Just wasn't very good about banking and things like that. They then inherited his bank account, which also had over $50,000 of cash in it.
That is an amazing story.
So some people would say, coincidence? I would say, change the energy around you. Do it with intention, and it really creates miracles.
Wow.
That's only one story. If we had longer, I could tell you 10, 20 other similar stories like that of people really paying attention to managing their energy.
Well, and I think that's something that our viewers would probably love doing. So tell us about how we can connect deeper with you. If we want to learn more about your work, how do we go about doing that?
Sure. Well, lots of places. Of course, my website, JackieWoodside.com, my YouTube channel, YouTube/Jackie Woodside, and on Facebook, Jackie Woodside Speaker.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, that we learned that by taking care of clutter in our life, we can actually be doing something that not only helps us, but be of service to humanity as well. So let's take care of that clutter and wake up.